All right, welcome to another episode of the Right in the Head podcast. I am the host, John Paul Sperling, and with me today is a dear friend of mine and a talented screenwriter, Mr. Alex Knight. Alex, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, John?
I'm doing great. I'm glad that we're here again, doing this again. It seems like
Again for the first time.
again for the very first time. Yes, we've definitely never practiced this, and
No.
I think the last time we did this, I had sound issues. The time before that, there was camera issues. The time before that, there was personal issues.
Uh,
So we've
I
been
think
through
we
a lot.
we've been doing it so long. I think you've moved apartments, haven't
I
you?
actually have. Yeah. Yep. I have a nice new background now. So
That's
happy about
nice.
that.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a very simple format. All I'm going to do is just ask you a question on the subject of screenwriting.
Okay.
And I will give you 7.5, maybe 8 minutes to answer the question, at which point a trapdoor underneath you will open up and you will be sucked into the abyss.
Does it lead to a writer's room somewhere, the trapdoor?
Does, yes. It
Okay.
actually drops you off in the writer's room of CSI Vancouver.
Okay, I'll take it. I'll take it. I'm Canadian, so I got to use those papers somehow.
Wait, are you actually?
I am, yeah.
I how did I not know this about you? I introduced you as my dear friend Alex,
Hey, it doesn't come up that often. Well,
dear
it's a
friend
fun
who is
fact.
surprisingly Canadian.
I save it for I've got both. I'm US too, so
Oh,
I'm not
okay.
just
You're dual.
I'm not a
Okay,
uh,
okay. Well, I mean, I'm going for dual citizenship soon. I need to be in this country for another 2 years, I think, before I can get that. So then I'll be Brit American or American Brit,
yeah.
whichever way around. Um,
Probably put Brit first. You put your most important one first, I think.
I think my parents might be angry at me if I did it the other way around.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm American British. Right,
I,
get out.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
would
just
never be allowed home into the House of Sperling ever again.
for your on your website, it would just be you in like a cowboy hat and jeans.
Just puffing on a stogie.
Yeah, small town boy, John Paul Spurley. See, I learned your middle name today, so we each learned a thing about each other.
Yeah, my middle name is it's because it's part of the brand. As a speaker, as a coach, I'm always John Paul Sperling, so I like to use that just to remain consistent with branding.
That's
I think
good.
it's important. Yeah,
I
yeah. You
appreciate
are
that. Yeah.
now Alex Canadian Knight. I don't know if that flies, but
Yeah, I don't know.
all right, let's get on with it, shall we? We've prattled on for long enough here. So my question to you, Mr. Alex, is it's a kind of a general question just to kick things off. I would love to know that from your experience, what would you say is the hardest thing about being a screenwriter, being on this journey that we're all on? What there's many, many things, obviously, but if you had to pick one that you could boil down into kind of an essential, like, this is the thing that I have
Mhm.
struggled with, what would that thing be?
I think that would be consistency because writing can be such a lonely and a kind of isolating profession. Even if you do have a group of peers or colleagues or just trusted family, whether or not they write, just to even to read your work, I think so much of it is just kind of you in a dark room with like solving a crime basically with the red thread and stuff or however you outline, and
Yeah,
it's I
yeah.
think just keeping centered and just kind of keeping your head on straight through the ups and downs. The roller coaster of the writing life is very important.
Yeah, I love that image of you working on a screenplay, but it looks like you're trying to catch the Zodiac killer. And
Yeah, while I'm on the roller coaster, so it looks like I'm knitting something as I'm.
I need to actually take a trip over to your apartment and see what your basement looks like. This is
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
intimidating to think of.
yeah.
So consistency, how is that manifested in you in terms of what does that challenge actually look like? Do you find that it's finding time or creating time to do the writing, or do you find that it's distractions in the forms of, when your brain does that thing where it's like, yeah, I should sit down and write, but I was gonna dust the bookshelves, and that's
Yeah,
suddenly now more important because
yeah.
there's this voice that doesn't want to sit down and write because there's that inner resistance. That's how some people experience this. Other people just say it's writer's block. They don't have any
Mhm.
ideas coming to them. Where do you experience this the most?
I think it's just really important to just kind of treat it like just find a happy medium between treating it like a job. And if you say you're gonna sit down at 8 a.m. and write, just kind of do that and just kind of keep in the habit of it, because it'll be like muscle memory over time. If you like every day, if you sit down at that time, it might take a couple weeks or something, uh, depending on your calendar, or like to get things to click and stuff. But I think pretty soon your body will start to kind of adjust for that. Just like if you went for a run at the same time every day, or if you eat lunch at the same time every day, and then like your body starts to get hungry right before that, and so your brain, I assume it works for me. It starts to think of ideas at about that time, and so I think just like keeping up with that. But then if it's not, if it's just not flowing, just being having some grace with yourself and being patient, and not not like being, don't be mean to yourself and say like, if I can't think of an idea, like I'm not going to get out of this chair until I think of an idea. You just kind of have to a happy medium between consistency, like sitting down and doing it, but also just not being stubborn about it and
Right.
forcing things to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
You can't force it.
There is that image that comes to mind of you being found as a skeleton in your chair with a note that just says, "Don't move until you have a good idea." And
Yeah, it's
that might be a bit too much discipline.
yeah, it's a scene out of seven. It's just the guy
Yeah.
in the bed.
Yeah. You've created the eighth deadly sin, writer's block.
That's right. That's right.
It's not talked about much in the Bible, but if you read between the lines,
Yeah, it's because of the writer's block. You couldn't think
yeah,
of it.
yeah, that's right. They'd written a lot. The Bible's a long book,
It's
so
yeah, it's long.
I don't blame them for tapping out on that one.
Yeah.
What do you think is, so you kind of alluded to it there, but just to double click on that, what have been some of the coping mechanisms that you've actually put into practice in your own life to be consistent as a writer? So you mentioned there having a routine. So that's a big one. I mean, I believe in that. I would advise any writer that wants to be consistent to have a routine. Is there anything else that you've done in terms of maybe setting up your environment a certain way, or having a certain practice that you do in the morning to get your head on right for the day? Anything like that that you could share?
Yeah, I love to kind of have to get your writing space looking nice and just like somewhere that you feel happy to be. And also just like having little treats for yourself too, is it can be very helpful, like coffees or teas, or an excuse to bake some cookies or eat some fruit or something, and just
Wait,
kind
wait, a screenwriter that drinks coffee, Alex?
of it's the trade secret.
I
Yeah,
don't think
and
it's,
just
it's not a
yeah.
secret. It's an absolute addiction. It's not a secret.
It's no, it's not. It's a good addiction though. It's not a shameful one. For
No,
all
I
right,
don't
it's not a
think
problem
so.
for any of us.
I've had a mixed relationship with caffeine, so
Mhm.
we'll pause that part of the conversation. Otherwise, I'll go off
Yeah,
on a rant about the pros and cons of caffeine, and that's probably not why people dialed in to listen to this today.
yeah.
Um,
Unless they got mixed up.
yeah, yeah. Wait. This isn't the one about caffeine.
Yeah, yeah. It's
What
hashtag
else is
Paul,
supposed to
hashtag
be about?
Canadian, hashtag caffeine.
This podcast took a surprising turn.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I don't feel any better as a writer, but I did learn a lot about caffeine.
Yeah, yeah. And our next guest, Bill Nye.
Talk about knitting.
Yeah, exactly. Roller coaster mechanics.
I would love to do that as a podcast, like book amazing guests and then talk about stuff I know nothing about.
Yeah, yeah. That would be great.
It's actually quite a good idea.
It's
Uh,
like,
I'm
yeah,
gonna have to take that one out of the edit because otherwise I've just told everybody what the idea is. So,
yeah, yeah,
admit I was gonna hope to do no editing on this episode. Never mind.
yeah. But then you invited me, so
Yeah, I should have known that sparks would fly. So, okay, so we've got setting up some kind of routine.
Mhm.
For me, that's my mornings are very, very structured so that I wake up, shower, dress, hydrate, breakfast, and then the first hour of my working day is writing. And I don't have my phone with me. I don't have any distractions. I tend to sit out on the balcony, so I'm not even near my phone or my computer or my laptop. But the only thing open on my laptop is Final Draft, and a Google Doc for when I need to brainstorm stuff. So that's
Mhm.
the first hour of my day, and I don't do anything until I've done that. The writing space you mentioned there, having that looking nice and helping it to be inviting. I'm assuming that for you, it's in the same kill room that you're in at the moment, covered in white cloth.
Exactly, exactly. They're fresh cloths though. They're
Yeah,
not the
yeah, you've
stained
washed the
ones.
blood off of them.
Yeah.
It does look like an episode of Dexter. I'm just going to put that. So, yes, a nice environment, a nice routine, and what else? There was something else you said. I think having treats. So,
Yes.
look, I think you're making that kind of neural connection between when I write, I have coffee, or I
Mhm.
have a cookie, or something like that.
Mhm.
I would the coach, the life coach inside me wants to push back and say, don't use cookies because sugar is very bad for you. But just
Yep.
purely in terms, if I can set that to one side, just purely in terms of what gets you to consistently write, if
Mhm.
you attach it to other pleasurable things, then yes, you will have a stronger likelihood of being consistent with your writing. So I would
That's
draw
good.
I would draw a line at a certain point. Like if you're attaching it to injecting heroin, probably not a good practice to get into.
Yeah, yeah. You get some
Probably
interesting pages though, wouldn't you?
you would think. Um,
Yeah.
or you might just pass out and drool all over your laptop and
Yeah.
never write anything. So compared to that, cookies sound great.
Cookies are great.
Cookies are great, man. Bring on the
I'm
cookies.
imagining you on your mornings now, you somehow getting locked out on the balcony, and then you have to like use your charging cord to like belay down to the next one.
That would be difficult because the balcony door only locks from the inside,
Well,
but
that's good.
and I don't actually have my charging cord out there with me. So if
Mm,
it did happen, I would be screwed. But I'm only on the fourth floor, so I think I could make it. I could jump. It's not that far.
yeah.
At
Yeah.
worst, two broken legs. Absolute worst case scenario. And I don't need those to write. So
That's right. It's like that line from Wild Hogs. I'm a computer programmer or whatever. I don't need my legs. Then we break his hands.
I don't think I've seen why. Oh, is that John Travolta?
Yeah, John
Yeah,
Travolta, William
yeah,
H.
yeah.
Macy,
Yes,
and
yeah, I have seen that years ago. Years and
yeah,
years ago.
yeah.
Okay, good. I think we've covered a few good points there, as well as rambled about some useless stuff.
Mm.
We have about another 20 minutes. So do you want to flip it around and ask me a question? Should we go in that direction?
Absolutely. I would say s- since you've had a layered life in a good I'm trying to set up, but since you've accomplished many things in your life,
Yeah.
and then you screenwriting was not your first love. It was you found it uh down the line a little bit. Do you regret any time in your life that do you regret the things you were doing before screenwriting? Do you wish you had more time to do that, or are you thankful for the
Right.
your initial loves?
Wow, what a great question. I think up until about 26 minutes ago, when we started this episode, I hadn't regretted anything in my life. No, I. It is a really good question. So I think so. My initial answer is no. I do not regret anything I did, or have done, or continue
Mm,
to do, because they make me me, and my experience now that I bring to being a screenwriter is unique. So somebody that has spent 15 years in the life coaching industry, somebody that spent at least that long, probably a bit longer, in the world of what I will loosely call entrepreneurship and business development and marketing. I've spent 2 or 3 years as a music producer and a DJ. So all of these things that were so educational for me and passionate a lot of the time, they now make up who I am. So I bring that to my writing. And it was part of the journey for me to learn that to get really good at something, you need to stick with it for a very, very long time, like way longer than you think. So I had to learn these lessons. The caveat to that is I do sometimes wonder, where would I be right now as a writer if I just made my mind up earlier in life to be a writer? So if I'd been writing consistently now for 10 years instead of what is essentially 3, where would I be? Because the trajectory I'm on right now, having been doing it for 3 years, I think I'd be Aaron Sorkin right now if I'd been doing it for 10 years. That's probably a bad comparison because I don't really think I would write in his particular way. But you wonder about where you would be, like what level you would be at.
Yeah,
So there's
absolutely.
definitely that element to it. But what I come back to is it could not have happened that way because the younger version of me didn't know what he wanted, had to go out, had to experiment, had to put, I hate the expression, but had to have fingers in lots of pies. And it's just like I don't know where that expression comes from. Like what kind of for a start, that's a really bad baker. Like don't put your fingers in all the pies.
It sounds like a pie thief to me. It sounds like
Maybe it might
someone,
be. Yeah.
yeah,
I just I it as the analogy, like somebody who's involved in lots of different things. I
yeah.
don't I don't see that when I think like there's 10 pies in front of him and he's got a finger and a thumb in each one. Like how does that represent being involved in lots of things? I just
Yeah. I'm worried about the logistics of that.
right.
How
It
do
has
you
to
have
be
them so close together? Do you
very
have little
specifically
circles?
shaped pies,
Yeah.
like long and thin pies, so you can just
Like
rest
maybe if they were slices, you could get a finger in each
nice
one, but
slices. Yeah, he's got
yeah.
his fingers in lots of slices of pie. That makes more sense.
Yeah. That John, yeah.
I think it might refer to maybe like scooping and tasting lots of different
Okay.
flavors.
Okay.
Um, but that's not apparent in the expression itself.
Yeah, there's no mention of tasting the pies. It's
No,
just,
just fingers in pies. Just
yeah,
just some
yeah,
dude
touching the
jamming
pies.
his little fingers into pies. And
Exactly.
what does he do with them afterwards? Does he sell them? Does he finish them? Does
The
he just throw
fingers or the
them?
pies?
Well, I don't think he's going to sell his fingers.
I don't, this is a, I don't
This
know
one's
where this
covered in
saying's
strawberry
going.
pie. So no, no, it's not blood. Strawberry pie.
I might be in a killer room, but it's strawberries. Come on.
Um, okay, rewind to the pre-pie part of this conversation.
Mhm.
Fingers and lots of pies. So my younger self needed to go on that journey. And if I could go back in time now and say, just pick one thing and stick with it, he would laugh at me because he was 20 years old and thought he knew everything, as does every 20-year-old. So yeah, it's just the way that my life turned out, and to spend time in regret is to waste time entirely because I cannot change it. It is what it is. It unfolded the way it unfolded, and I feel like now, because when I said 3 years ago I'm going to be a screenwriter,
Mhm.
I was able to bring so much to that decision, so much discipline, my routine, my confidence, my grit, my tenacity, my networking skills, my understanding of the human condition from being a coach. So that helped me to start writing characters without having to do, all the research that typically goes into that. And just the knowledge that this is going to take a long time. This is a multi-decade commitment that I've just made because
Mhm.
I'm either going to make it as a successful screenwriter, and successful is defined by the individual, so I know what that means to me, or I'm going to die trying. And that's not meant to sound dramatic. What I mean when I made that decision was this is not going to be another one of those things that I pursue for a couple of years and then get shiny object syndrome and go chase something else because it's new and it's novel. I've done that in the past. Always look back on that and regret that decision, because if I had just stayed with those things for a bit longer, I could have broken through to a whole new level. Now, again, in hindsight, I'm glad that didn't happen with anything else because now I want it to happen with writing. I feel like now I've found that thing that I'm supposed to be doing, and supposed to be, I don't like that term. There's nothing I'm supposed to be doing, but it feels like I found something that connects to me very deeply and I truly enjoy doing it. So,
That's amazing. Because I think maybe had you found screenwriting at 20, maybe that would have lasted a few years, and then you would have gotten into music producing after that, and then life
oh, yeah.
coaching after that, and then you'd be where you are now, but not as fulfilled because it's not the final thing.
Right,
It's
exactly
something
that.
to build up to.
Look, we are fantastic at reverse justifying things in life. Like, oh, it all happened for a reason. No, it happened, and now you're giving it reason. So, having said that, I do feel like there's something kind of poetic about the way this all happened, the lessons I've learned along the way, and now being situated where I am now, I'm in a position where I still have a day job in marketing as a consultant. I earn a very respectable living, so I'm not under too much pressure to go ahead and make my scripts sell, which I think would be soul destroying and would take a lot of the joy from it. I'm privileged to be in this kind of financially stable, creative position where, I mean, every morning I go out onto the balcony and I write for an hour looking out at the Hollywood Hills. I can see the sign from my balcony, the Hollywood sign. And I grew up in a small town in the UK where my best friend was a sheep. And so to be doing this now, it is insane to me that this is even real.
Yeah.
So how can I regret any of the things that happened in the past? Because they led me to this, and this
Yeah.
is just a privileged and miraculous life that I'm extremely grateful for.
That's amazing. And I think that's a good point you bring up about reverse engineering our what's happened to give
Yeah,
it meaning now.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
I
Oh,
feel like
we're
that's what I do
recording.
with when I write pages and then I have a cookie. It's like, could I have written the pages without this cookie? Probably not,
Probably, yeah,
Better
but
have
I
another one
needed the cookie.
tomorrow.
I needed the cookie. The cookie is what made me do the writing. Yeah, we're
Uh-huh.
very good at reverse reasoning and telling stories, and we create narratives. That's what I love about storytelling, about writing, because we can all do it essentially. Like most people haven't learned the craft of actually writing a screenplay, but we are all storytellers. We survive based on narrative. You can't have story without characters, and each one of us is a character. So we inherently create stories. Think about the way we even talk to each other, the analogies and metaphors we use. That's all a form of narrative. So we do it just without even thinking about it. We're incredible storytellers. So being able to now put that very, very primal ability onto a page and then have other people in this industry read it and produce it into something that's visible to others. It's just that's what I love about screenwriting. It's like this is what we're doing is the equivalent of cave paintings and telling stories around campfires. It's one of the most primal things I can imagine doing.
Yeah, true. It's a however whatever way you get your stories out, it's a necessary kind of human function, just like any necessary human function to tell stories, to share your
Yeah.
beliefs.
So, what other necessary human functions do you enjoy, Alex?
After a long day of eating pies.
After a good session in the writing chair, a couple of cookies, some fingers
Yeah.
and toes, what other primal human urges do we indulge in?
That's for another podcast altogether.
That is a different show.
That's a different show.
That's uh
That,
that's
that's when
that's
we
John and
plug the
Alex.
other one.
That's John and Alex with three X's.
Yeah, that's right. John with a winking umlaut over the O.
Late night after hours with John
That's right.
and Alex.
But I think that's part of why that there's such an appeal, and why stories throughout the ages, whatever the vehicle has been to get them told, have been so popular, is because everyone's a storyteller. That doesn't make it less important. I think that makes it more important, because everyone kind of speaks the language. If you have a story about uh a character who's like down on their luck, everyone's felt down on their luck, and then everyone thinks they have somewhere to go in life, some way to improve
Yeah.
in career or friendships or family or love or
Well, so I love, yeah, what I've learned, and I love this so much. It's so abundantly true. And yet, when I first heard this, I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I didn't realize this before. It's when somebody tells us what we should be doing with our lives in any way, small or big, there's an initial defensive, like, you don't get to tell me what to do. But when we see ourselves portrayed in stories, and we're just left alone to relate to what that character's going through, we see ourselves in the character and we learn from that
Mhm.
character what we could be doing. So we see this hero going on a journey and we're like, oh, that person's, let's just say, in their 40s and still single, and their family keep asking them about their love life, and now they're going out on dates, and that's horrific. So we watch this story, which sounds like, I don't know, a revamped Bridget Jones now that I think about it. But
He
if we
won't
relate to
return
that,
his sheep's calls, you know.
yeah,
She
the, the Ipswich Town version of Bridget Jones.
yeah, yeah.
If we relate to that character, we watch her or him go on this journey and we relate to it and learn from it. But if someone just showed up in our lives and said, here's what you should do with your love life, we're just going to reject that because that feels
Mm.
like, don't tell me what to do. So, story has this incredible power to guide us and to teach us because we're choosing to relate to the protagonist and go on that journey with them and learn from that. It's really remarkable. And I think about the number of times I've done that when I'm watching a movie. The silly example is when I was a kid, I remember going to watch the Ninja Turtles movie at the cinema.
Mm.
And I came out of there convinced I was going to be a ninja. I was going to go and take karate lessons and be some kind of martial arts expert. And this was like turtles. Like this is not this wasn't a Jackie Chan movie. This was watching
Yeah.
four men in turtle costumes. And I just related to it and like because they were outsiders, they were freaks and they had to live in the shadows. And I wasn't literally living in the sewers with my parents. That my town was bad, but it wasn't quite that bad.
Yeah.
But to feel that like, yeah, let's get up and do something
Yeah.
and kick some ass. It was just
Yeah.
incredible. Just
That's
incredible.
yeah, that's I mean it's a back to the universal human urges. It's everyone thinks that their life can be better tomorrow than it was today, no matter, how many things you have set for yourself. There's some area that everyone thinks their life could benefit in, even if it's giving back or something.
Right. That's a very, very important one. And I think that's a great place to wrap. So if there's one takeaway from this, it's that everybody is too selfish and we should all be giving back. That's
That that's
just
the takeaway.
it on that uplifting, positive note. Uh,
That and if you're eating pies, wash your hands.
and if you're attaching cookies to writing, just keep checking that blood sugar. Just keep an eye on it. Just keep an eye on it.
Just I mean, it might get you on a podcast though. So
It might
pick and
be.
choose your battles, friends.
That's a real niche in the market, isn't it? Screenwriting diabetics.
That's the one. It
That's
it's
really niche down. That's
yeah,
really niche down. The total addressable market there is probably 7 people, but
7 I mean, you'd be surprised. That's probably
it would be
bigger.
a captivated audience, though.
You'd be like, all the targeted ads would be for like insulin and things.
Wait, there's a podcast for diabetic screenwriters?
Yeah, that's
Sign me up. This is
yeah.
incredible. All right. Thank you so much for your time, Alex. This has been amazing as always, and let's do it again soon.
All right, I can't wait. Well, until next time, John.
Until next time.